things are happening in South Africa.
We will not be bullied.
South Africa is in the crosshairs of the new U.S. administration.
They're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
South Africa does not have racist ownership laws. All our laws take their cue from our constitution.
A diplomatic storm triggered by a new land law that South Africa says is meant to address historic racial disparities and not a confiscation instrument, as Trump alleges.
Donald Trump is obviously ill-informed about South Africa's expropriation bill.
The new policy allows the government to seize private land, sometimes without compensation, where it is deemed just and equitable and in the public interest. To a stranger, this may sound outrageous, but the land subject is a deeply contentious issue that reflects the complex history of South Africa. Flashback to 1913, and the British colonial rulers introduced a law that restricted the country's black majority from owning or leasing land. With the racist policy in place, non-whites were forcibly ousted from their land. This concentrated land ownership in the hands of the white minority.
Apartheid was not just a political system, it was also an economic system. And it created an economy of its own kind by locking black people out from participation.
Come 1994, the tide changed. A democratically elected government took power, ending apartheid and black discrimination. It was supposed to be a new beginning, but little has changed with regards to the land ownership since. The white community makes up 8% of the country's population of over 63 million, but white farmers currently own approximately 3/4 of South Africa's land. And so, to right historic wrongs, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law the land expropriation policy in January. But like every new contentious policy, the new land law has been met with both cheer and criticism.
You don't have to be an economist to know if you infringe on property rights. It will scare away investors. It will create enemies in countries that feel strongly about the free market. And that is exactly what happened when President Ramaphosa signed the Expropriation Act.
Treason has been committed, we contend, by them because they are plotting against our government. First of all, they lied and said their farms have been confiscated and there have been killings and their land was confiscated, which is not true to begin with. So based on that lies, those fraudulent misrepresentations, Trump decided to issue an executive order against South Africa.
It is very clear that Donald Trump is playing the card of coercive diplomacy, which the U.S. has played throughout history when it comes to governments that do not do its bidding on the foreign policy front. Now, we do know that South Africa has had foreign policy choices that were not favored by the U.S. in recent years, starting with the Russia-Ukraine war, taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, as well as its involvement in BRICS. All of these are seen by the Trump administration as intolerable alliances.
Besides threatening to withhold U.S. foreign aid to South Africa, the Trump administration has also proposed to grant refugee status to white South Africans in the U.S. However, groups representing some of South Africa's white minority have responded with thanks, but no thanks.
If you haven't got any problems here, why would you want to go?
We don't want to move elsewhere. We are not going to ask our children now to move to another country.
We will speak with one voice in defense of our national interests, our sovereignty, and our constitutional democracy. By standing true to our values, by harnessing our unique strengths and endowments, and by forging a common purpose, we can turn these trying circumstances to our advantage.
now believe that Trump's reaction may actually bring South Africans closer together after all.